Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Sorry about that. We're here a minute too late. It happened. We're getting ready. Well, we're letting everything really go streaming. How's everybody doing? It's been since Tuesday. First day of confirmation. So that's all via Zoom. So we're getting everything all set up. Everything's computers. Nothing but problems. It could be worse. It could be in Florida with a hurricane. Right? And I don't mean that as a joke. Good luck, all you people down there. I know up here it's been, they say we're going to get some remnants and our weather is eventually going to be impacted. But the size of this thing, as someone had mentioned today on the radio, another show, wasn't Jay Allen. It's from the, if you go from New York City to Pittsburgh, that's the size of the storm. So we forget how big these things are. And, I would always listen to what the government tells you on this one. If they say evacuate on this one, that means that they do not have the resources to go and, at least they don't think they have the resources to go and help you out on this one effectively. And there was a radio talk show out of New York here. He's nationally known. He had this whole thing going on a couple of years back. He built basically a parking garage in Florida. There. That's what he lives in. So he says it's like a parking garage. Must be nice to have that money because I know how much money those things cost to build. I've been on a couple of builds like that. So that's basically it with that. All right, what do we got here? All right, so like the disclaimer says, we're usually not parts of the story, but tonight we are a little bit. So in case you haven't heard, Mayor Eric Adams and several other New York City officials basically said, he got indicted today, Eric Adams. I mean, the last couple of weeks we had all these things going back and forth and everything else. Know about this and about that. And, this one's getting, indicted. This one's getting, this one's getting this, but essentially the, we've had the school's chancellor resign, police chief resign, all these folks, and I'm trying to line this up here. So this is basically what it comes down to is a lot of his advisors resigned, apparently, is what I've heard, because of his issue is that he hired his friends, basically, and that's not always such a good idea. New York City already has a law against hiring family members in your administration. I know Mayor Bloomberg, when he was elected mayor, he wanted his daughter was his right-hand person on everything, his point person on everything. Basically what they an old term, aide de camp sort of thing. And she ran businesses with him. She ran her the campaign. And they said, well, you can't hire her. And he's like, what do you mean? This is my right-hand person. I've always thought it was like a stupid thing where you can't hire family members. My opinion is if they're qualified and they could keep family, they should be hired. So for example, historically, JFK, John F. Kennedy hired his brother Robert F. Kennedy to be Attorney General. And again, appointed him to be Attorney General. Well, guess what? No one's going to argue that Robert F. Kennedy was not qualified to be Attorney General, right? I don't think anybody is going to seriously argue that. No, all history, being the judge, these things, good, some bad, that they do and everything else, mostly good. But, so I don't know. If you have a friend who is qualified to do something in your administration, that would be it. So, for example, let's say you're running a presidential campaign and you're campaigning for the candidate for president. Well, if you're a medical doctor and a very high-level medical doctor, why wouldn't you be, appointed as Surgeon General, maybe? Or some other appropriate title if you hold the qualifications? Same thing for Attorney General and many of the attorneys general in the United States and everything. Why not? I don't know. But you get into some trouble sometimes because of familiarity, and there's, you have to be objective when you're managing people sometimes. You can't be their friend all the time. You got to be the boss. So basically, New York City's Mayor Eric Adams was indicted yesterday afternoon, and it was sealed yesterday and unsealed today. Alleges that Adams engaged in corruption dating back at least a decade. He abused his position as the city's highest elected official, and before that as Brooklyn Borough President, to take bribes and solicit illegal campaign contributions. According to U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, Adams has been in New York City's public eye for decades, formerly serving as an NYPD captain, as state senator, and Brooklyn Borough President. He's been leader of the country's largest city since 2021. I knew that something was up. There was murmurings in the background, and being in the area, you hear murmurings. And first week of this month, I received this letter from the Congressman Michael Lawler, who is my congressman here. And I think it was like a form letter. I don't know how I got on his mailing list, if they just sent this to everybody, or just people like me who are in their, as my wife calls it, their watch list. I don't know if I'm on the watch list, but based on me being a registered Republican, right, for full disclosure here, they probably was on his list to send mail to. And this is official mail from Congress of the United States. Here it is on the official letterhead, right? Dear Posel family, according to city data, New York City has likely already surpassed $5 billion in spending on shelter, security, and food to handle the massive number of migrants overwhelming the city. All right, by the way, I think I'm the only one reading this on the air, so I'm going to do this. Safety Wars exclusive. And migrants overwhelming the city. Sadly, this is not just a New York City problem. Albany has already spent more than $4.3 billion in state money on the migrant crisis, yet New York City Mayor Eric Adams has repeatedly asked the state and the federal government to cover more of the cost. The crisis we now face is a culmination of federal, state, and local failures. It should come as no surprise that New York City's refusal to cooperate with Immigration's Customs Enforcement, that is ICE, and offering of free health care, food, clothing, and shelter to migrants will put a hole in it. It can't climb out its way of, right? Meaning a financial hole that they can't cut, right? We are never going to fix this mess if we don't fix our broken immigration system and secure our border. More than a year ago, the House passed the Secure the Border Act, which would have fixed the crisis at the border by limiting abuse of our asylum system, restricting asylum eligibility, and requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico. I was proud to support this common sense legislation, but it has yet to be taken up for a vote in the Senate. I know it is going to take both Republicans and Democrats working together to address our broken immigration system, which is why I also joined a bipartisan coalition in Congress to introduce the Dignity Act, the first bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform bill in over a decade. I came to Washington to solve problems, not to kick the can down the road. That's why I'm going to keep working with colleagues in both parties to fix this mess. Please do not hesitate to share your thoughts on this or other important topics by calling my office, and he gives the office number, and it's the local one, to stay updated on issues before Congress, mobile office hours, or other upcoming events. Please subscribe to my e-newsletter at lawlerhouse.gov. Your involvement is a key to our success. Believe it or not, the same day I received this letter, I went to Congressman Lawler on a separate issue there with him. Number one. Number two is after my son and I were going to a community event, and lo and behold, his campaign was there. So I spoke to them on specifically this issue, and they followed up with a phone call a couple of days later. Now, what is happening here, and what the you're right, what's not in the news, but we covered it here once, and I'm going to cover it a little bit more forcefully tonight, is this. Every contractor that I know who does business in New York City, and I've spoken to a couple of construction management firms that approved invoices for New York City, and New York City is finding every excuse to stonewall the invoices that they're on their other bills. They're stonewalling people with paying them, delaying payment because of this $5 billion crisis. So basically, I'm not going to give an opinion here on whether or what we should be doing about the migrants. I'm a law and order kind of guy. I believe everybody should be under the same laws, the same rules as everybody else. We all know that. If you've been listening now for 3.5 years, that's my take on everything. Law and order with this. I'm not exactly sure that's part of the problem here. You have people not applying the law. If you don't agree with the law, change the law. We have a mechanism in place. The worst thing that we could do is have laws on the books that are never enforced or very highly selectively enforced. I'm for law and order with this and enforcing the laws. If we have a debate, we don't like the laws, change the laws. All right, number one. Number two is they're taking money from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, out of their other budgets, and they're applying it to this. Of course, there's going to be a fiscal crisis with this. Now, what happened right now, as of today, he is not, as of today, he has not resigned, unless it's happened in the last 14 minutes that we've been on the air. So the issue is this. Who becomes the mayor with this? If he does resign or steps down, it is the public advocate of New York, who is Jumaine D. Williams. And I'm reading his bio off of advocate.nyc.gov, which is his official website, right? Previously, public advocate Williams served on the New York Council representing the 45th District. Advocate Jumaine at Williams, right, is the first. It's hard to get that out. They have him on a first name basis. I don't think that's. If it's a public official, it should be their title and their name, right? You're a public official, not your friend, even though they want to tell you that they're your friend during the campaign, right? Jermaine is a first-generation Brooklynite of Grenadian heritage. He graduated from the public school system, overcoming the difficulties of Tourette's and ADHD to earn a master's degree from Brooklyn College. He began his career as a community organizer at the Greater Flatbush Beacon School and later served as executive director of New York State Tenants and Neighbors. There he fought for a truly affordable, income-targeted housing across New York State, city and state. In New York City Council, Jermaine championed landmark legislation that fundamentally transformed New York City. Jermaine sponsored the Community Safe Act, reforming the city's police department and ending the abuse of stop, question, and frisk in communities of color, and creating the NYPD's Office of Inspector General to investigate unlawful and unethical behavior. As a former co-chair of the council task force to combat gun violence, he helped create New York's crisis management system, which funds secure violence groups that work to reduce shootings through a multi-pronged approach. The program fundamentally transformed the city's approach to gun violence prevention, and as public advocate, he continues to work for its expansion and improvement today. Jermaine has led the fight for better policing and safer streets, affordable housing, and transparency and accountability in city government. As a public advocate, Jermaine will continue to be an activist elected official who brings the voices of everyday New Yorkers to city government and makes New York's a truly progressive beacon for all. Basically, his reputation is that he's further to the left of Mayor Adams with this. And we know Mayor Adams is on left of the aisle. Someone who I have met many times over the years, Curtis Sliwa was one of the people running against Mayor Adams here, and he predicted a lot of these things because word on the street. You know, people are not supposed to talk about grand jury stuff, but we know that's not necessarily true. But public, but basically, this is what it comes down to, is that Mayor Adams is saying he's not resigning, and he is going to fight this, and this is all, they're on a witch hunt against him, and they're out to get him. That's been true because he has not exactly been a game player. I think a little bit of that comes into this. But more importantly, when did this happen? Usually with, and I'm just going to put this out there, when there's bad news for the Democrats, when do they release the story? Friday. It's usually a Friday afternoon, so everybody could get their ducks in the row for over the weekend, right, with this, and then come back on Monday, and a lot of the Sunday morning news programs are filmed Friday, right? So what happens is they wait for this stuff to happen after these news programs are filmed and the promos given, and then they're able to do Saturday and Sunday, get their ducks in a row, then Monday come in. Now, and then address it. The fact that this happened on a Wednesday, and you're going to say, well, Jim, this sounds conspiratorial. Okay, call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't really care at this. I'm an observer of this since I'm 9 years old. I'm going to be 54 very soon. And this is what happens time and time and time again. So the fact that this came out on a Wednesday, the grand jury indictment, and then immediately they released the seal on Thursday to release the indictment, indicates to me that Friday, when all these news programs are being promoted and a lot of them being filmed, they're going to, or taped or video record, whatever we're calling it. I'm going to get emails and stuff. You're using old-fashioned term. Okay, whatever. Recorded. All right. My opinion is that there is some truth to them being out to get him with this. And I'm not defending the man. I'm just observing with this. I have no opinion whether he did it or not. I do have an opinion with some of the decisions he made, as I just pointed out. But the fact that this happened on Wednesday, I think the fix is in on this guy. He's going to resign or something, and they're going to have all these news programs on the weekend are going to be with this, all the local and national news programs with this. Also, let's not discount that this is an election season. All right? Not doing so good for some of the candidates, depending on the polls you read. So that takes any criticism on the presidential election and any bad press that either side has here off the table for the Sunday morning programs. And where a lot of people, all that they do is they watch the Sunday morning programs to get their news. So don't think that doesn't go into this. And that's, call it what you will. I'm just, with this here. And that's what I'm going to say here. And we're going to go to commercial break right now. And I know people are off the floor. Jim's talking politics. You know what? I got to talk politics here. If I wasn't going to mention this, it would be like, oh, well, it's an irrelevant program. Well, too bad. And I'm in the neighborhood, and everybody in Mike Lawler's district, 17th district, now is a part of the story here after a letter like this. And this indicates to me is that everybody, that the fix was in. Something was up. I knew something was up. They came up with that letter. Let's go to commercial break.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
I'm sure you've heard the news. Safety training is evolving, and you should be too. Outdated safety training isn't just boring, it's dangerous. If your safety trainer is still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety from 25 years ago, it's time for a change. Imagine safety training that actually addresses the hazards unique to your workplace. No more generic, one-size-fits-all solutions. The Safety Wars team at safetywars.com is here to revolutionize how you approach safety, with customized training that's relevant, engaging, and effective. Contact Jim Polzel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. Say goodbye to outdated safety training and hello to a safer, more productive environment. Visit safetywars.com now.
In a world where danger lurks in every corner, one man stands as a beacon of hope. Jim Pozell, a veteran safety expert with over 3 decades of experience, now bringing his knowledge to you with Safety Wars. Engaging, informative, and always relevant. That's Safety Wars. Join the safety revolution with Safety Wars, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos.
Want to avoid hefty OSHA fines and keep your team safe? Let's dive into the General Duty Clause. The General Duty Clause, Section 5(a)(1) of the OSHA Act of 1970, is a catch-all rule to cover unregulated hazards. Employers must keep workplaces free from recognized dangers that could cause death or serious harm. For OSHA to cite you under the General Duty Clause, they must prove the following 4 things. 1. The employer failed to render its workplace free of a hazard. 2. An employee was exposed to that hazard. 3. That hazard was causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm. And 4. Feasible means exist to free the workplace of the hazard. Employees aren't off the hook either. Section 5(b) mandates they follow all safety standards. Both employers and employees must work together to maintain a safe work environment. Examples: think lifting above shoulder height repeatedly or working without proper support. Stay proactive. Monitor work areas, apply the 4-part test, and you'll prevent those nasty citations and keep everyone safe. Need help? And more information? Contact Jim Posel and the Safety Wars team to help you prevent workplace incidents, conduct safety audits and training. Contact the Safety Wars team at jim@safetywars.com or 845-2695772. Visit us on the web at www.safetywars.com. Let's build a safer workplace together.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
All right, we are back here, and we're going to be talking
on the front
about...
lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Yes, we are going to be talking about the harsh reality tonight here. So... what do we have here? We have some royalty-free music here. So, what do we have here? We have, this is Wagner Ride of the Valkyries, right? About the apocalyptic final battle, right? About the apocalypse here in Norse mythology, I believe it is. So, here we have electromagnetic pulse here. And it's a little bit annoying here. We'll just leave it at that. It's a little bit annoying because I've been hearing about this since the late 1990s. And even before that, there was a movie in the 80s called The Day After. The Day After. And it was about the Soviet Union, then Soviet Union, launching a nuclear war against the United States, the first strike. However, in the events leading up to it in the movie, there was a EMP attack on Soviet forces, aka the Warsaw Bloc, what they used to call back in the day, by an electromagnetic pulse that fried all their electronics, right, when they were coming across Europe. And it was the lead up to a 2-week lead up to a nuclear war and everybody going nuts and haywire. And what happened was you had the Jason Robards character. He was played a doctor in Kansas City, I believe it was, and he was on the way home, and this EMP pulse came, and then a nuclear explosion, and when the EMP pulse went, all the cars shut off on the highway to the side, the traffic jam, and then it went off. But basically, that was the first I heard of it. I've updated my knowledge over the years. When I came out with my book in 2012 on nuclear terrorism, we have a whole section in this. But here we have some updated information, and we have some historical information from here. So this was the most up-to-date stuff that I was able to find. It is from the U.S. Naval Institute, usni.org, by an article by Gunnery Sergeant Joshua E. Owen, U.S. Marine Corps. An EMP or solar incident could result in blackout warfare. Russia and China have the ability to destroy the U.S. power grid and degrade military capabilities with a non-kinetic first strike, not only through the electromagnetic effects of nuclear and non-nuclear weapons, but also by means such as cyber attacks. The sun can similarly destroy all parts of the system through a natural event. An EMP, electromagnetic pulse, is the electromagnetic radiation from a nuclear explosion caused by a Compton recoil electrons and photoelectrons from photons scattered in the materials of a nuclear device or surrounding medium. It can also be caused by non-nuclear weapons through their effects, though their effects are more geographically limited. The resulting electric and magnetic fields may couple with electrical or electronic systems to produce damaging current and voltage surges. Depending on the burst type, it can cause power spikes ranging from several hundred volts per meter up to more than 1 million volts per meter. Furthermore, it can cause a component subsystem burnout and degradation and upset. A CME from the sun, or what we're hearing now is from interstellar events, right? So you can have a coronal mass ejection from, let's say, a supernova several light years away, and this would cause something serious here, as would be illustrated in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, when Praxis, the Klingon moon, blew up from over-mining and environmental issues, and it blew up. It was the main power supply from the Klingon Empire, and it caused the Excelsior getting pommeled by, right? Anyway, I digress. But that's what we see in popular culture here. And plus that story fit in with the music. But anyway, a high-altitude nuclear weapon detonated 25 miles above North America would destroy most U.S. electronics, high-voltage transformer vehicles, including tactical ones, and other electrical machinery. A CME, depending on the severity, would produce a similar effect. Current 99% of all military bases rely on the civilian electric grid. While many analysts consider a nuclear-generated EMP unlikely, it is not the only threat. Recent overflights of balloons from China have been at altitudes high enough to cause a nuclear EMP. I'll add this in if they choose to. And the late Dr. Vincent Pry was the executive director on the Task Force of National and Homeland Security, a congressional advisor dedicated to protecting the U.S. From EMP attacks, and I believe, like me, he was on Coast to Coast AM with that. But no, George Laurie, Coast to Coast AM, has been covering this for many, many years. Now, the report, now what happened in 2008, and I'm going to might go through this here, we'll see how this goes. In 2008, there was a report here issued, and it's pretty comprehensive here on EMPs. And this stuff was also released a book, which is, as far as I can tell, is not available on PDF download, but it might be somewhere. I just haven't been able to find it. The updated book was Blackout Warfare, Attacking the U.S. Electric Power Grid, A Revolution in Military Affairs. And I'm going to share with you, because I found it here. Right, and our tax dollars paid for this, so we have this here. So let me do a share screen. And let's get this here, right? So this is from July 2017. Yeah, we cover everything here. We're all over the place here, guys, right? We're talking about Mayor Adams. Now we're talking about the assessing the threat from electromagnetic pulse. So this is dated July 2017, Volume 1, Executive Summary. And this is a report of the Commission to assess the threat to the United States from an electromagnetic pulse attack. And right, and this is basically an update here for this. And yes, I am not doing anything secretive here. This report is unclassified and cleared for public release. So here, let's go run through the executive summary, and this is all part of the National Defense Authorization Act, fiscal year 2016 appropriations. And this committee was reestablished by NDAA in 2016, and then it terminated in June 2017, and it's complex and everything else. What's the bottom line? The government has known about this since at least 2007, because I have the report right here, April 2008, so which means they knew about it in 2007. The report, and 2017 was the most updated I can find here. The critical national infrastructure in the United States faces a present and continuing existential threat from combined arms warfare, including cyber and man-made electromagnetic pulse attack, as well as from EMP from solar superstorm. During the Cold War, the U.S. was primarily concerned about EM attack from the Soviet Union, and I am just going through this. This is like, how many pages, Jimmy? A 34-page report here. I'm not going to read all 34 pages on the air. Major efforts have been taken by the DoD to ensure the U.S. National Command Authority and U.S. strategic forces could survive and operate after an EM attack. However, no major efforts were thought necessary to protect critical national infrastructures, relying on a nuclear deterrence to protect them. In other words, mutual assured destruction. The development of small nuclear arsenals and long-range missiles by small, hostile, and potentially irrational adversaries, and the threat of a nuclear EMP attack against the U.S. becomes one of the few ways that such a country could inflict devastating damage to the United States. Right? So in these reports here, with this, basically within 1 year of an EMP attack, knocking out the power grid, it would be a 90% fatality rate in the United States. Some of the other areas of the world may be better, maybe worse here. And this was the recommendation here that they have. I'm going to go through there. The Commission highly recommends President Trump's Executive Order 13800, strengthening the cyber security of federal networks and critical infrastructure. The Commission strongly recommends that implementation of cybersecurity for the electrical grid and other critical infrastructures include EMP protection. The Commission encourages the President to work with everybody to achieve that goal. I'm paraphrasing here. All right, so that's number 3 they listed as. The Commission recommends that government agencies and industries adopt new standards to protect critical national infrastructures from damaging E3 EMP heave fields with more realistic standards of 85 volts per kilometer. The Commission recommends electric grid equipment with long replacement times, such as large power transformers, to be tested to system failure. I'm going to add this. It takes several years for a transformer to be made, and they're not made in this country anymore in any meaningful amount. Right? The Commission recommends the Director of National Intelligence circulate to all recipients of the 2014 JAEIC report, the EMP Commission critique of that report, and direct new assessment to be prepared that supersedes the 2014 EMP report. And going on here, so here you go. You think you got a generator, you got solar panels? Not so fast. United States and modern civilization more generally faces a present and continuing existential threat from naturally occurring and man-made electromagnetic pulse assault and the related attacks on military and critical national infrastructures. A nationwide blackout of the electric power grid and grid replacement critical infrastructures communications could plausibly last a year or longer. Many of the systems designed to provide renewable standalone power in case of an emergency, such as generators, UPS, uninterruptible power supplies, and renewable energy grid components are also vulnerable to an EMP attack. Right? A long-term outage owing to EMP could disable most critical supply chains, leaving the U.S. population living in conditions similar to centuries past prior to the advent of electric power. Now, let me take a note with this. This is not Jimmy Posel saying this. This is not conspiracy theory. This is an actual government report. Right? You can look it up yourself. You don't believe me. There's a lot of people that don't believe me out there. Guess what? You can look it up yourself. And, I get the, well, this will never happen, and you're overblowing it. And then what happens is we lose internet access here for 35, I think it was 37 hours, and people are like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't have the internet. No. 10 days we didn't have electric here after Superstorm Sandy. People were like, Florida, that's an occurrence every year from a hurricane. Something is without something to the southeast. You know? Right? What are they going to do with nothing? I tell you what, you go out on these generators, most people do only have enough fuel for about 3 or 4 days. Max. How much gas is in the lines? Meaning that if you have a hooked into your gas line for the house. A day and a half, maybe? You ain't going to have power. And if you're dealing with, especially what we call the Scenario 3 here, what Jimmy calls Scenario 3, which is 72 hours to 30 days. You're not right. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if it's in the winter? What do you do if it's in the summer? Extreme heat, extreme cold. What would you rather deal with? I don't know. Nobody has fireplaces. I tell you what, my mom had a nice fireplace in her house. New owners came in. First thing they did was get rid of the fireplace. Why? No, fireplaces are out of fashion, number one. Number two, you know the requirements you have to have for a fireplace now? And especially in an urban setting? Pretty hard. So we got rid of that. Now we're relying on gas or electric or fuel oil. Electric grid goes down, you're not going to have there goes all your heating system. In the summer, there goes your air conditioning. You got people out there that can't handle this. You got people out here with legitimate health issues that can't handle it. What are you going to do? That's where the 90% die-off comes from. Just-in-time food delivery. Guess what? Now you have an issue. What are you going to do if you have food and your neighbor doesn't? And you advertise. You advertise that you have all this stuff set up. What are you going to do? You think they're just going to sit there with their families starving, cold? They're going to come over. Now comes the thing. Are you going to help them out or not? I would like to think I would help out my neighbors. Because we're community here. And help out I would like to think that, but maybe not. No, maybe not everybody thinks that way, what I'm saying. Maybe they're not going to help you. Maybe your neighbors are going to gang up on you. Now what are you going to do? You got to have security. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, we have the Second Amendment. I'm just going to start offing people. Really? Really? You want to face your maker with that kind of attitude? We're just going to off people out? Really? Don't you think there's enough violence in this world? I think so. Now they talk tough. Everybody talks tough. Let's see what's going to happen when it actually happens. The thankful thing is that most Americans work together. There's very little looting, if any looting. When we've had major disasters. That's the good thing. But we've also had some resilience, some supplies. But what about a widespread emergency? I don't know what the chances of that happening. It could have happened, yeah, but who knows? But, no, what are you going to do? We try to be helpful here. One part of the country has a problem. Everybody else tries to help it out. That's what's great about America. But what if we have multiple problems all over? By the way, the Hart-Rubin Commission in the early 2000s that dealt with this said that what we have to be prepared for, a worst-case scenario, are 3 nuclear weapons of about 10 kilotons, right, and going off on the same day in the United States. All right? That's one of the things that they said, right? So that, you know, to be prepared for that, and that's what the government basically is prepared for, all right, with that. But we'll see. Even Crescent Carney, in his famous book, Nuclear War Survival Skills, that you could get on PDF, right, he points out, what was written during the Cold War, he had said, Americans try to help each other out, and I hope we do that. But here we go. An extended blackout today could, in the 1800s, the U.S. population was less than 60 million. Those people have many skills and assets necessary for survival without today's infrastructure. An extended blackout today could result in the death of a large fraction of the American people through the effects of societal collapse, disease, and starvation, while the national planning and preparation for such events can mitigate the damages. Few such actions are currently underway, and this is 2017, and I'm going to tell you, especially after our experience with COVID, this is written pre-COVID, they ain't prepared. That's why you got to go down there, and you got to demand preparation. What's our disaster plans here? Go down to your locality with citizens and everything else with this. Combined armed cyber warfare, as described in the military doctrines of Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, may use combinations of cyber, sabotage, and ultimately nuclear EMP to impair the United States quickly and decisively by blacking out large portions of the electric grids. Going on. Well, I know. What has happened since this report was written in 2017? We have Ukraine war. We have shit going down in the Middle East, people. Don't think that there are threats in this country? Really? The Association of Atomic Scientists, right? They keep moving that doomsday clock closer to midnight, guys. Maybe we need to wake up here as to what's going on here, especially in the electric grid. Any of several threats as described must be considered. Think that this hasn't happened before. Carrington event of 1859 was a superstorm that knocked out the telegraph system. Reportedly, the railroad tracks are glowing with this, heating up and glowing. 10 to 12% NASA, 10 to 12% for decades, something like that will happen again. Nuclear EMP attack might be confirmed. I got it right here on the screen. Check out the videos. Nuclear EMP attack might be conducted with only a single nuclear weapon detonated at a high altitude or a few weapons at several hundred kilometers. These can be delivered by satellite. Oh, guess what? It's a militarization of space. It's out there, dude. It's going. It's happening. By a wide variety of long and short-range missiles, including cruise and anti-ship missiles, by a jet doing a zoom climb, or even by a high-altitude balloon. We had balloons a couple years ago, right? Some modes of attack can be executed relatively anonymously, thereby impairing deterrence. Russia, China, and North Korea now have the capability to conduct a nuclear EMP attack against the U.S. All have practiced or described contingency plans to do so, and that is footnote number 9. C. Army of Islamic Republic of Alarm Pass and Defense Approach to Threat Center, and it goes on and on and on. Here, where that is, right? From Moscow and from North Korean, right? State news. Since then, we've had Iran with this stuff now. Cyber attack using computer virus. Hey, didn't we have a cyber attack a couple of months ago with Crowd? What was it? They testified this week in front of Congress, right? CrowdStrike, right? With that. Small problem with that. Apparently they fixed it and everything, and they have situations in place where that is going to prevent that. The U.S. electrical grid can be sabotaged by damaging extra high voltage transformers, using rifles, explosives, or non-nuclear EMP or directed energy weapons. Okay, and this is a thing that I had discussed. At least one substantive rehearsal of such an attack may have already taken place at the Metcalf substation in San Francisco Bay Area. Okay, that was in southern San Jose, California. And what was the name of the road? It was Metcalf Road, I believe. Yeah, Metcalf Road. The old Pratt & Whitney facility was there, Pratt & Whitney UTC, where they made solid rocket fuel for the military. So you go up to that place. It's at the top of a hill. At the bottom of that hill, going down, if it's still there, is a motocross track, about halfway. And way at the bottom of the hill is the substation that they're talking about. I did a project right outside that. I know where it is. So that's why a lot of these substations now are being hardened a little bit with higher walls and some security. So because what happened was somebody took a shot, 50 caliber bullet, and the substation went down, and it took around 2 or 3 days, from what I recall, for that to go down. So this stuff is already happening here, guys. But guess what? No one's talking about it. The only person to talk about it was President Trump when he was president, and he has not, to my knowledge, spoken about this during the campaign, and neither has President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris or Governor Walsh. No one's talking about this stuff. Really? A extinction level event. Right? Public's interest in this. So you had that movie a number of years ago, right? With who was it? Bruce Willis, right? Going up to the asteroid. And those modified shuttles drilling in it. Armageddon. That was the name of it. Thanks. Someone said, you mean Armageddon? It came up here on the screen. Yeah, Armageddon. One of the big blockbusters of when it came out. Guess what? Public is interested in this stuff. If you would be honest with the public up front, instead of going out there and not mentioning this stuff like it doesn't exist, I tell you what. I gave a talk over the weekend at church on this stuff. Right? Really? We have to worry about this stuff? I talked about our medical paperwork. Medical, because we had an older demographic there, and that was relevant to what they're doing. Guess what? I talked about that. They were like, wow, we never consider that, and even medical stuff. Imagine something like this. None of this stuff, and by the way, this is not all that you have to do is withhold arms shipments to some tin pot dictator for a year, and that pays for this whole thing. Yeah, I'm on a roll here. So, I don't know. Tell me what you think. Am I overblowing this or not? Right? All you have to do, cut a couple of programs. We're talking like $3 billion. And the whole country is protected from this. Really? Really? Again, okay, so in 2001, I found out with the anthrax attacks, government was not ready for a pandemic. Working on the vaccine plant in Swiftwater, Pennsylvania, again, government not prepared. I went out, spread the word the best most I could. Guess what? Now I have a I fell upon dead ears, and I wasn't the only one. Now I'm telling you again, this is an issue. Securing our power grid. Some of you here, this is the first time you're hearing about this. When a whole region like New York City goes without power, it's all consequences. It's mayhem. If Amerada Hess, right, and they got rid of their refinery, was not in Woodbridge, New Jersey, because they didn't want to upgrade the air permitting, the government wouldn't give them any leeway there. Because that refinery was open, we were able to get gasoline to everything. So we don't have that refinery open. Now, hopefully Bayway Refinery, some of the other refineries in South Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware area are going to be up and running during any major emergency. Hopefully we have plenty of capacity, oil-wise and everything, for us to, Hold on. Haven't they been releasing the strategic oil reserve? Oh, maybe we don't have the capacity we used to because someone's using it for political purposes. Here. So you don't release the strategic petroleum reserve because it is strategic. It's not political. And now, even if they replenish what they released, now they're paying. Now, what's the price of oil now? I used to always release it on here. Price of oil. Here you go. Today, the price of oil, crude oil prices. Today, let's see what they are. 68.08. Brent crude at 71.02. Okay, so it's come down a lot from when we used to report it on it every day. But I tell you what, it's it is a thing out there. That's all I got tonight. Thanks for letting me rant and rave here. I'm going to do one more commercial, then we're going to cut into our outro. And I will see you, God willing, tomorrow. And nice, I got this off my chest here. So, see you tomorrow. One more commercial.
Hey there, safety professionals. Welcome to another episode of Safety Wars on Safety FM, hosted by Jim Posel, and today we're diving into what it really means to be on the front lines of the safety war. So, let's start with the basics. Safety is not just a set of rules or regulations. It's a culture, a mindset, a way of life. When we talk about safety, we're not just protecting workers from harm. We're building an environment where everyone can thrive. It's about going home safe and sound to our families every single day. Now, I know it sounds like a heavy responsibility, but that's why we're here. To make sure everyone understands the importance of safety and knows how to implement it effectively. Whether you're a seasoned safety professional or just starting out, there's always something new to learn. Let's talk about some key strategies. First up, communication. It's critical to ensure that everyone on the team is on the same page. Regular safety meetings, clear signage, and open dialogue can prevent a lot of accidents before they even happen. Next, let's focus on training. Proper training equips your team with the knowledge and skills they need to stay safe. Remember, it's not just about ticking a box. It's about making sure every worker understands the why behind each safety protocol. This understanding fosters a culture of safety where everyone looks out for one another. Of course, we can't forget about technology. From wearable safety devices to advanced monitoring systems, technology is revolutionizing how we approach safety. Embrace it. Use these tools to enhance your safety programs and keep your team protected. But let's not get too comfortable. Safety is an ongoing battle. New risks and challenges emerge all the time. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and never stop striving for a safer workplace. So, what's the takeaway? Safety is everyone's responsibility. It's about creating a culture where safety is ingrained in everything we do. As safety professionals, it's our job to lead by example and inspire our teams to commit to a safer future. Thanks for tuning into Safety Wars on Safety FM. Stay safe out there, and remember, every day is a new opportunity to make a difference. Catch you on the next episode.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.